Welcome into Press Box Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles, along with my baseball panelists for another baseball chit chat. Luke Jackson is with us, the managing editor of Press Box. Luke, give me a thumbs up. All right. And the old left-hander, Ross Grimsley. How are you, Ross?
Doing well, Stan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Want to tell everybody that we are brought to you in addition to the Costas Inn, who you'll hear about in a little bit. We're brought to you by AJ Michaels, expert and award-winning AJ Michaels Heating, AC Plumbing, and Home Performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. The AC season is here. New rebates and discounts are available more at ajmichaels.com. And guys, we start off this week with the Tampa Bay still at the top of my MLB power rankings, which are up for week 14. It's hard to believe we're 14 weeks into the baseball season already. Tampa's still leading, Atlanta second, Texas stays at third. The Orioles move from fifth to fourth, and Arizona drops from fourth to fifth. And then it's a mad scramble there with Miami sixth, San Francisco seventh, the Dodgers eighth, Toronto ninth, New York Yankees 10th, and the red hot Cincinnati Reds, who are coming into Baltimore tonight, Luke Jackson, at number 11. How do you like my top 11? You think I got it about right, or you got any big differences?
No, I think you're right on track here. I might quibble with the order here and there, but in terms of those 11 teams, it makes sense to me. Like you said, one of the most intriguing storylines in baseball right now, and the Reds are coming to town. And how about the Yankees with not getting any offense, really, still able to scratch together wins? It's kind of surprising with the injuries that they've had and the lack of offense production that they've had, that they're still legitimately a top 10 team, but they're sort of allergic to being bad.
I've grown to really appreciate the job that Aaron Boone does, keeping his squad scrapping, working hard, playing hard, and somehow more times than not figuring ways to win.
Yeah, and it's about their pitching.
Yeah.
That they've had a really solid rotation all year, and they've had one of the best bullpens in baseball since the first week of the season, really. So that's really what's kept them afloat. And then the rest looks good. I don't really have anything but minor quibbles.
Ross, I got a big question for you. We're about 10 days into this thing with Aaron Judge right now. Does Judge or the Yankees, I'm throwing you like a sports business question, really, are the Dodgers liable for anything? It seems like that's inexcusable that fence just broke open like that. And that's even staying away from the cement lip there, what purpose that serves, because that's where he apparently tore the ligament of his toe, was on that.
You remember we talked about it last week about Elliott Maddox when he was with the Mets, I think, sliding and hitting the water sprinkler that was in the outfield. And that would pretty much really
ruined his career,
hindered his career for the rest of his time. But I mean, they could possibly do it. Who knows? But yeah, that's that reminded me of that situation with him. So yeah, there's very possible. Who knows?
Ross, I know you don't live in Cincinnati. I know you don't follow them, but you know how rabid that fan base is when you give them a good product. I think all three games against Atlanta this weekend were sellouts at the Great American Ballpark. You never played there, but that's a good baseball town when you give them a product worth supporting.
Fantastic. I mean, when you win, obviously win anywhere, but winning in Cincinnati, you got the tri-state area there. And, my wife, Bird, is from Indiana, which is about 60 miles from Cincinnati. And it was amazing, the people that turned out. And even talking to some people from the Cincinnati area down here in Florida, and they always bring it up, the Reds are winning and stuff. And I don't know if you remember last year when we talked to Johnny Bench, he was talking about, we were talking about catching. He said, well, they got three pretty good catchers over there. So anyway, yeah, it's kind of a surprise. And you asked me earlier before the show, before we came on, if I was familiar with anybody. No, I never followed them because they were losing all the time. And all of a sudden they throw together a 12-game winning streak. And now we go, wait a minute, there's some. I can name a couple guys I think over there is all, but obviously you're gonna. The more they win, the better they play.
You probably remember Joey Votto.
Oh, absolutely, that's
Just
one.
came
Yeah,
off the IL and hit a couple home runs.
exactly. So yeah, it's great for that town to come back and do that, and the fans will come out.
Tell me a little bit. Are you familiar with any of the Bell family?
Just playing against
Buddy?
Buddy when he was in Cleveland.
Yep.
I don't remember much, but Buddy Bell was a I didn't play with him. I played against him a lot. Class act, it seemed like to me. Nice guy to talk to. I didn't spend a lot of time with him, but he seemed to be a really class act. Great guy. I saw him. I think he was in the front office
of Texas.
Texas might have been years ago, and I would see him periodically around.
Luke, your thoughts on the Cincinnati Reds? I'm excited to see this young team in Baltimore. I'll be out there tonight and Tuesday night as well.
Yeah, I'm planning to go out there tonight as well. And you mentioned the fan support that the Reds have gotten in recent weeks with they had a 12-game winning streak recently that was broken by the Braves. But you think about all the rabid college sports towns around Cincinnati that can kind of coalesce around Cincinnati with like Indiana University, University of Kentucky. All those fan bases can sort of join together with the Reds, and they all sort of like the Reds. But anyway, Elly De La Cruz, I can't wait to see him. He's been the most exciting player in baseball this month. And I am hoping that the Orioles get a nice lead in the game, and Elly De La Cruz hits a line drive to that 398 mark in left center, and we can watch him run and see if he can make it an inside the park home run. I want to see him run. I want to see it.
All right, that sounds good. We've gone 5 minutes, guys, and we haven't talked about the two 30,000-pound elephants in the room. One is a left-handed pitcher named Cole Irvin, and the other is we're going to finally see the major league debut tonight of Jordan Westburg. Ross, which is a more interesting story for you?
Well, I'm really surprised that Irvin hadn't done any better than he has done. But everybody's talked about Westburg, wanting to see him. Here we go. There's a chance. And, my question is, he's played several different positions. In AAA, he's played both corners in the outfield. He's played everywhere on the infield. I don't think he's played first base yet. But
that could be coming. That could be coming.
Absolutely. But, where is this guy going to – is he too big to be a shortstop? Is he going to be a third baseman? He's played a lot of second. So that's kind of the question. And then I happened to run across something talking about he may be available to move for a pitcher somewhere. Now that's just I guess I forgot where I saw it.
Yeah,
but my thing is,
I think they finally needed to get a look at him for 3 or 4 weeks to see which way they want to go on him.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they lean toward that he is an important piece of this club moving forward. Luke, what do you think? I think the guys that play less now are Frazier and Mateo, and we probably see a little more Gunnar at short when Mateo's out of the lineup.
Yeah. Now, ironically, because Cincinnati is starting a left-hander tonight, and I assume based on the way the lineup stacks up that he's got big splits.
Yeah.
Brandon is going with 8 right-handed hitters, with Mullins being the only lefty. So Henderson is out of the lineup, at least to start. In a tight game, right-handed reliever, you'll see Henderson, you'll see O'Hearn. But anyway, I think you're absolutely right. I think you'll see less Mateo. I think you'll see less Frazier. And really, I think Frazier has played in all but 2 games this year.
Yeah.
They've seen a lot of right-handed starters this month. They haven't seen many lefties. So it's pretty much been everyday Frazier. And as I was texting with you last night, that's a lot of Adam Frazier at this point of his career.
Yep.
And I also agree with you that, Westburg had basically played like a full season at AAA because he was promoted to Norfolk around this time last year.
Yep.
And it was either time to get a look at him, an extended look at him in the major leagues, or deal him. Yeah. It was sort of had come to that point. And, and credit to Jordan Westburg, because there are a lot of guys, a lot of kids, and Ross, you know this about AAA, who really get frustrated, right, about not getting the call, about staying at AAA, because no one at AAA wants to really be in AAA, right, Ross?
Pretty much, unless you're a young kid and just got called up from Double A.
Right. And so, but he continued to keep his head down. He grinded, he kept producing, and the opportunity came. And so good for him.
You know, it's been interesting to observe what's going on. I talk about it a lot, and I wrote about it, Luke, with Ryan Mountcastle, but it's been interesting. They only had Mullins get like 2 games in, and they deemed he was ready.
Right.
Mountcastle is now through 4 games, and he's 0-14, 0 for 14 down there. And Brandon is talking as he gets questions. He goes, well, we're not really looking for results. So he doesn't want to poke that bear that, hey, the guy's 0-14. He goes, but we're looking for the type of at-bats he's getting. And it's weird that it took a case of the vertigo for the club to really start observing what type of at-bats he gets. He's been getting these type of at-bats for 2 years.
Yeah, well, watch it. When guys go down on rehab like that, I mean, it's the at-bats you take. It's how you pitch. It's how you field. The results, that would be great.
Yeah.
As a player, you want that, but if you're taking good swings, you're making contact, you're doing everything, and that's what the trained eyes see. And
I guess my larger question is, could you see an option coming into play here? Because Mountcastle has options left.
All right. No, I don't think they would do that to him. I would be very upset if I was him.
If he is not, and look, in the 2 or 3 weeks, really longer than that, leading up to his IL stint, he was not performing. And he was stuck on 11 home runs and 39 RBIs for seemingly like a month. And if he's like striking out half the time during his rehab assignment,
yeah,
I think an option would be an option.
Yeah, I do too.
But now they could give him a mulligan and bring him back and
play him against left-handers.
Against lefties. That, I think that's also a possibility, and perhaps more of a realistic possibility. I forget now with the new CBA what the rehab assignment is for position players. I'm assuming it's 10 days,
right,
before they have to make a decision on whether to option him or bring him back.
It's just interesting. It's interesting because a lot of us now are talking about sort of an exit strategy with Mateo,
right?
That now, because we think that Mateo is that's enough Mateo. But do you really want to bring Mountcastle up as a right-handed platoon player and try to get value out of him down the road to use some way in a deal? I don't know. It's a very difficult needle to thread.
And that's an excellent point, Stan, because he's never done that.
Yeah.
And you can ask Ryan McKenna about this, being the short side of a platoon is hard.
It's very hard. Yeah.
It's hard to stay within that rhythm. And those right-handed hitters, bench bats, who can stay in rhythm and can play 2 times, can start 2 times a week and still give you a good at-bat every time against a left-handed pitcher. Those guys are really valuable. And that's also a very difficult role, because most guys need to play every day to be in a rhythm to hit their strong side. You know what I mean? And so, and I don't know if Ryan could do that.
What is his problem? Right.
He swings at.
No. Yeah. I know his ability and what he does.
The medical problem is vertigo.
Vertigo.
So, I mean, that could last. God, who knows how long that could last for 6 months.
Yeah. Remember Nick Asaski had that and he never made it back from it.
Yeah. I know a bunch of people have had it, and that
Brandon Drury had it. Brandon Drury had it after Arizona traded with the Yankees.
Well, I mean, if that's his issue, sending him down ain't going to help any.
Right.
It'll help the club.
Right.
But if he's unable to play, then there's another avenue to go.
Right. Well, it doesn't appear that he's unable to play, but Brandon was alluding, and I'm taking them at their word for this. he was alluding that he never complained really about it, but when he looks back on it, he wonders if something was creeping in. To me, it sounds like a cover your ass type of thing. That this is who Ryan Mountcastle is, but if I owe him an apology and it was all because of vertigo, I'll take it back. But I've seen the same player for 3 years, just like in Boston. Bobby Dahlback was their highest ranked prospect, and he's been back in the minors.
So I mean,
It happened, yeah.
you can only hope that he's healthy, and that he can get back to the kind of player that he was the last, I guess, 4 months of 21. When he looked like he could be a legit middle of the order bat in the American League East. And if you look at his batted ball profile, he still hits the ball really hard. He still barrels up the ball a lot. He's among the league leaders in that. He's just got to swing up more strikes, and hopefully he can get back to the hitter that he was, like I said, the last 4 months of 21. But we're getting farther and farther away from that.
Yeah. Guys, getting back to tonight's game, it's Williamson, a left-hander for Cincinnati against Cole Irvin. Cole Irvin, I thought it was curious. Seattle is a really pretty weak hitting team, but maybe they're a better. It just was odd to me. I think on terms of how hot Cincinnati's been offensively, why you wouldn't have wanted Irvin pitching against Seattle, and Bradish against Cincinnati. Any thoughts on that, guys?
It might have something to do with how the Mariners hit against breaking balls.
Yeah,
Bradish is such a breaking ball heavy pitcher. It's a lot of sliders. It's a lot of curveballs. It might have something to do with how they, as a team, hit against those pitches. And so you throw Bradish against them, and you could see. I mean, he hung a slider to Raleigh. He hit it out to Utah Street. Otherwise, he didn't get hit hard at all. And he really, in the inning that he gave up the home run, he should have been out of that inning. The umpire blew a couple of check swing calls. So I figure that probably has something to do with it. And I don't know. I don't have the Reds team splits off the top of my head about how they've done against lefties. So
it looks like they also have about 4 or 5 left-handers in their lineup.
That's probably a good reason why. But getting back to that Seattle, you watch Wells throw. I couldn't believe how many breaking balls these guys threw and how few fastballs they threw. And throwing breaking balls for guys now, they throw them as hard as they can. It's like every single pitch. There's not such a thing as a get me over, get ahead ball, breaking ball. It's throw it and make them swing and miss as hard as you can. But I was really surprised that I started thinking, watching Wells pitch, I said, I wonder if he's okay, because he threw a couple of fastballs 89, 90 miles an hour. And I know if you keep throwing breaking ball after breaking ball, it's going to affect your arm eventually. But that's so that's probably the reason they're not a good breaking ball hitting team. But that still doesn't mean you can't use your fastball. You have to do that. But they didn't do that. So I was kind of scratching my head watching that. But they got some nasty breaking balls. Wells hung a cutter. And to this day, I don't understand, being right-handed, why you would throw a cutter to a right-handed hitter or a left-hander throwing a cutter. The ball breaks like this. It doesn't do that.
Right.
So you're just, if it's near the middle of the plate, you're in trouble. They're gonna tallywhack it. They're gonna jump all over it.
I haven't heard that word in about 15 years.
Is that a usable word? Can I use that?
Ross, is that an old school baseball word?
Tallywhack? I guess it is.
That sounds like an old baseball man term.
Probably is.
I've got to look up that term after we finish.
That sounds like something Bruce Bochy said in a meeting in like or something.
You'll have to look it up in the Urban Dictionary, Stan.
Hey guys, we're going to continue in just a minute, but I got to get a word in edgewise, and I'll tallywhack this commercial for the Costas Inn. Actually, tallywhack, that might describe Boog Powell cracking crabs at the Costas Inn. Boy, he really tallywhacked that crab. Anyway, if you're planning your first summer soiree out at a restaurant to eat crabs, there's no better place than the Costas Inn. But anywhere you go, I'm giving you some advice. the days of walking into crab houses and just saying, hey, I want a dozen crabs or 2 dozen crabs. You got to make sure that they've got them and what size you want and at the price point you want. Call the Costas in at 410-477-1975. It's getting late in the early part of summer for you to get your first crab feast of the summer. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They've only been there for about 52, 53 years, so they must be doing something right. They're good people. I've known them for close to 30 years now, and fine family, and it's a family atmosphere restaurant, and that title is well deserved. All right, now back to our baseball chatter for the week. Luke, we're talking about the American League East. Tampa's 1, the Orioles are 2. Toronto and New York and Boston, you could kind of throw, I mean, Toronto and New York are a little bit better than Boston, but it's not much difference. But you could almost throw a blanket over those 3 teams right now.
Yeah, and don't forget that Boston, hold on, their record here, they're 40-39, but I believe they have faced the second toughest schedule in the major leagues. So they're not a typical last place team, and the Orioles have played 6 games against them, and we know what kind of offense the Red Sox have.
Yeah,
they've had some issues in the rotation and in the bullpen, but they've got a heck of an offense. And we talked about the Yankees a little bit in terms of how they've been able to stay afloat. You credited Aaron Boone and the way he's able to get his boys ready to play. I talked about the rotation, how effective the rotation and bullpen has been. And then the Jays, we've talked about this in the past. They have one of the best offenses in baseball in terms of getting guys on base. They have been one of the worst teams in baseball.
get them on a cross
with runners in scoring position and cashing those guys in. You would figure in the second half that worm will turn. You would think.
Yep.
But we'll see. Sometimes 162 games isn't enough. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that there's kind of a blanket over those 3 teams. I don't think you can count anyone out in the American League East. The issue for a team like the Red Sox is that they've gotten off to a so-so start. And yeah, it's been against a really tough schedule, but it's going to be a tough schedule the rest of the way too. You're going to beat up against each other in the American League East.
Ross, the National League West, I think we thought there'd be a 2-team race this year. It's turning out to be a 3-team race, but one of the teams that we thought would be in that race, the San Diego Padres, they're pretty close to having checked out. Talk to me a little bit about that National League West, where the Arizona Diamondbacks have run out and grabbed, I think, a 3 or 4 game lead over the Giants and Dodgers, but maybe the Dodgers are getting a second win right now.
Well, the Dodgers are, they're getting two guys back here pretty soon with Muncy and the left-handed pitcher.
Urias.
Yeah.
And they're also getting back another valuable bullpen arm, Daniel Hudson.
Yes, a big time. So that's going to mean a lot right there. They're 43-34. They're 11 games up in that division. Arizona surprised. The Giants have really
they come out of nowhere now.
They come out of nowhere. They've kicked it in. They're 8-2 over the last 3 series, and that was against the Dodgers, San Diego, and Arizona. So they're beating up some of the top teams in that division. So who knows? But the Dodgers, Arizona's a surprise for me. What they're doing. Colorado is where they normally are. They just that's a tough place, especially for pitchers to pitch in. Yeah. As we saw the other day, what 25? Where was that at? Was that in Colorado? The 25 runs?
Yes, in Colorado.
Yeah. Which is the ball flies out there. It's not fun.
And the thing is that the outfield's huge, and so bloops fall in too.
It doesn't matter.
Can you imagine pitching at Coors, Ross?
No. I had enough trouble at the other places. That wouldn't help. That would help. I think when I was where did we play at my first year in AAA? I think we played in Denver.
Right, Mile High Stadium.
Jiminy Christmas! That was and I threw hard. Had a pretty good breaking ball, and I give up some home runs. There, Jeff Burrows was there, and some other anyway. But yeah, it's a tough place to play. I mean, it's for anybody. So yeah.
So I know you
get some
don't,
guys that pitch there. You're doing a good job.
so Ross, I know you don't watch every game, but diagnose what's wrong with the Padres.
That's totally. I'm just really confused. They spent a lot of money. They have a lot of good players,
They
but
sure
for some
do.
reason, and I'm not really sure what it is. I'm not a big Manny Machado fan
I'm not either.
at all, and I don't know if that kind of attitude rubs off on some other guys. And it just takes one guy to really spoil the barrel, and like I said, I'm not a Machado fan, just watching and some things that have happened when he was in Baltimore, and he's a good player, but I don't know if I know what happened when Bonds went down in San Francisco, and a lot of players were pretty happy about that, which is mind-boggling for a lot of people, but the team played better without him.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is, but they have some tremendous players, and they're not doing as well as you would hope.
They've been tallywhacked all over the place.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Luke, I'll toss you the grenade on the New York Mets. I'm starting for the first time to hear a little rumbling about Buck Showalter's security up there.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, you and I know that this is not on Buck Showalter.
No.
It started about 2 weeks before the season. Edwin Diaz gets hurt. You and I have talked about this before. Imagine with the Orioles, if Felix Bautista has suffered a season-ending injury 2 weeks before the season, and opening day, your closer is Brian Baker. No offense to Brian Baker, that would have been a nightmare, right? I mean, I don't know what Brandon Hyde would have done in that situation. And it's really had a carryover effect, a domino effect, I should say, to the rest of the Mets bullpen. And Buck is trying to do the best he can to not overwork the few reliable relievers he has, like Robertson and Ottavino. And yesterday it bit him because trying to stay away from Ottavino, the other guys he had available didn't get the job done. I'm not sure why that's necessarily on Buck. But when you're in the New York market, everything's magnified, and everything's magnified when you've been as lackluster as the Mets have been this year. And it's been, and let's face it, Steve Cohen is paying, including tax, about $450 million for this roster. Yep. I think you and I can all three of us can look at that roster and say, that is not a $450 million roster. It's
it sure is from an accounting standpoint.
It sure is. That's very true. They've got a lot. They've got a lot of big dollar players not performing like it. Put it that way.
Do you see any way Ross can steer the ship back in line, or is it gone?
You're breaking up, buddy.
This season, is there still a chance that Buck could steer the ship and right it, or somebody else can?
With the bullpen as it is and losing guys, I mean, there's not a lot you can do. I mean, you're trying to juggle, and if you can get some help, but when you have to run, having a bullpen in any level, you got guys you run out when you're winning, you got guys running out when they're losing. Mm-hmm. Those guys that you run out when they're losing, they have to pick up the slack for your horses. So that they got to do something. If you don't have the guys to do it, or the guys aren't doing it, you got a problem, and you're gonna suffer. That's one of the things that's like with the O's. You got Batista and Cano. These two guys, you're winning. You win when you bring those guys out. These other guys are going to have to pick up the slack somewhere along the line, because you're going to wear those two guys out.
And to that point, Ross, I don't know if you watched Saturday's game. I thought one of the best things I saw on Saturday was the way Michael Baumann got through the top of that 10th inning. I thought that was the best stuff he's had all year, or some of the best stuff he's had all year. That was great to see. And then Brandon yesterday, top of the 8th inning, got some lefties coming up. He doesn't go to Cano, he goes to Calhoun. And now he's got Cano available to close today, because Batista's available, having gone.
And that's, you're going to have to do that, especially with the O's. And that's what's going to be to see what happens here the next few before the trade deadline. Because the O's, of all the things they need a starter. They need some guys in the bullpen, or they need some guys to step up. I don't know if they have those guys. So if they really think they have a chance of going deep in the playoffs and even getting the World Series, which, you know what? Stranger things have happened. I think there's a possibility if they get some
help,
some pitchers to help them out, or some of these guys start stepping up and doing stuff. Because I mean, the bullpen's earned run average from April, it was 286 in April. In June, it's 475.
Right.
So we saw what happened last year at the end of the season. Guys
They were running
down.
on fumes.
Exactly, and that's could very possibly here that happen. I mean, the O's average a little over 5 innings. The starters average over a little 5 innings, and almost 5.3, which is kind of the league average.
Right.
But the bullpen, you know, has got to. I mean, with your 2 horses. And Bauman he comes along and occasionally and does a good, but these guys in the, you know, you're not your top line bullpen guys. They're going to have to do some things to take the pressure off your horses.
I'll give you one name that wouldn't require a trade, and it's a name that just came to me yesterday from somebody who follows the minor leagues very closely. Wanderson Charles. Is a pickup Dominican kid, 26 years old. He really dominated at Bowie, and he's been up, pitched 2 or 3 innings for Norfolk. And I'm hearing, Luke, have you heard of him?
Yeah. He was, I believe he was a minor league signing.
Yep.
And I think he was up to 99 at Bowie.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if at some point in the second half he contributes to the Orioles. Now, he would have to be placed on the 40-man roster because he's not on the roster right now, but they can easily do that. And so if he continues to pitch well at Norfolk,
60-day DL for Ryan Mountcastle gets that done.
And so if he continues to pitch well,
IL.
He will get an opportunity because that's how it goes.
Hey, that's the last word on today's program. I thank Ross Grimsley, the old left-hander from down in Bradenton, Florida. Luke Jackson for joining me. Luke's heading out to the ballpark tonight. I'll be heading out shortly as well. Orioles at home for 3 against Cincinnati tonight, tomorrow night. And is Wednesday a night game?
Yes, 7:00.
All right, all 3 are night games. But don't forget, next Sunday, you can not only have breakfast in Wimbledon, you could have breakfast at Oriole Park at Camden Yards because they'll be playing the Minnesota Twins in that Peacock Sunday morning game starting at, I think, 12:05.
Yeah.
All right. That does it for today. I'll be on Thursday night by my lonesome, or possibly a guest co-host, but our guest will be Jay Cornegay, one of the odds makers for superbook.com. is going to join us. All right. For Luke Jackson, Ross Grimsley, I'm Stan the Fan, and we thank again AJ Michaels, Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Home Performance. And of course, as always, the Costas Inn. We'll see you down the road just a little bit. Bye.